I pulled into the driveway and froze. Two men in black vests were holding my wife like she was a criminal, and there was blood on her face. Her hands were trembling, one pressed to her cheek, red running down through her fingers. The men stood between us like hired muscle, vests labeled HOA cop in big white letters. For a second, my brain refused to process what I was seeing. Then it clicked. Someone had just laid hands on my wife. Oh, drama neighbor. To understand how it got here, you have to go back a few weeks. We'd moved into this neighborhood for peace and quiet. Wide lawns, good schools, a decent place to raise our baby once he arrived. My wife, Emily, loved it. She spent her mornings in the garden, coffee in one hand, pruning shears in the other. Then the HOA started their nonsense. It began with a letter. Fence exceeds approved height, must be lowered or fined. Then came another, unauthorized garden structure. That structure was a small wooden swing Emily built herself. She handled it with patience, called the HOA office, emailed the board, even attended one of their monthly meetings. I didn't. I was still working out of state, helping with a security contract. I remember her telling me about the president, Brenda Harrison, a woman with a voice like a siren and an ego to match. She ran the HOA like a private army. When Emily told her I was a Navy SEAL, Brenda smirked and said, "We'll see if your husband follows the rules like everyone else." That was the moment it started. Strange cars idling near our driveway, flyers taped to our mailbox. Someone even left a fake HOA violation warning that wasn't official at all. We laughed it off until it stopped being funny. The morning it happened, I'd gone to the hardware store to grab some boards for the treehouse I'd promised to build for our kid. Emily stayed behind to water her roses. She called me around noon, her voice calm but uneasy. "There are two men walking around the yard," she said. "They're wearing vests that say HOA cop. Do we even have those?" I told her to stay inside. She said she would. 20 minutes later, I turned the corner back onto our street and saw everything. Emily backed up against the porch rail, her phone lying broken in the dirt. One of the men, tall, broad, with a buzz cut, was shouting something about non-compliance. The other held a clipboard, waving it like a warrant. I stepped out of the truck, every muscle going tight. "What the hell did you do to my wife?" I asked, my voice low but cutting. The one with the clipboard pointed at me. "Sir, stay back. This is HOA enforcement business." Emily looked at me, eyes wet, voice shaking. "He hit me." That was the moment everything stopped being about fences or rules. Because when I heard those words, I knew exactly what was coming next, and it wasn't going to end with paperwork. I stepped forward, slow but steady. My voice came out calm to calm. "Let her go." "Back up," the bigger man barked, flashing a fake badge. "This is an HOA matter." "We're authorized to." He didn't finish. Because when his hand went for his holster, I shot him. Once, center mass, clean, controlled, and final. He hit the ground hard, his fake badge clattering beside him. For a second, the whole world went silent. Just whined through the trees, my heartbeat and Emily's sharp cry. Breaking the stillness, I didn't move right away. Combat teaches you not to celebrate, not to panic, just to confirm. My eyes stayed locked on him, waiting for motion. There was none. He wasn't getting back up. The second man froze, his mouth open, disbelief written all over his face. You shot him?" he stammered, backing up toward the fence. He reached for his radio. Wrong move. I was already moving. I closed the distance before he could blink, the kind of speed that only training and fury can summon. He swung wildly, desperate. I ducked under it, caught his wrist, and twisted until he screamed. My other hand snapped forward, striking him square in the throat. Not to kill, just to stop the fight. He gagged, stumbled back, clutching at his neck. I didn't stop there. He'd hit my wife. That's where the line ended. I drove my knee up into his ribs, once, twice, until I felt the crack through my jeans. His breath left him in a ragged moan. He fell sideways, gasping, coughing, trying to crawl. I grabbed the back of his vest, yanked him upright, and pinned him against the fence. His legs kicked weakly, panic replacing aggression. "Who sent you?" I demanded, my voice steady, every word cutting through his pain. He didn't answer, just whimpered, eyes darting toward the body on the grass. "Who sent you?" I repeated, louder this time. It was Brenda," he blurted. "Brenda Harrison, the HOA president. She said to scare your wife, said to make her sign the fine." I felt my blood run cold. Emily gasped behind me, holding her cheek where the bruise was still swelling. The rage simmered deep, but I pulled it back. Control first, always. I pushed him down to the ground and stepped away, breathing hard but steady. "Emily," I said, keeping my eyes on the man. "Call 911. Tell them exactly what happened." She nodded shakily, grabbing her phone. Her voice was steady when she spoke to dispatch. She'd learned that from me. By the time I heard sirens, the man was still writhing on the grass, holding his ribs and mumbling nonsense. The first one lay still, his vest soaked through. The smell of cordite hung faintly in the afternoon air. Neighbors had gathered by then, phones out, murmuring. I didn't care. The truth was plain to see. 2 fake cops, a bruised woman, and a husband who'd finally had enough. I looked down at them both one last time and said, "Quietly, you came here playing soldier. Now you've met one. Drama neighbor." The police arrived within minutes. Blue and red lights flashed against the fence where Emily had bled, where those men had fallen. The first officer out of the cruiser, Sheriff Vance, took one look at the scene and understood exactly what he was walking into. He saw the fake badges, the torn vests, the bruises on Emily's face, and the gun in my hand, still warm but pointed safely toward the ground. "Step back, sir," he said calmly. I did. "Hands up, slow, deliberate." "I'm the homeowner," I said, voice steady. "My wife was assaulted. 2 fake cops came onto our property." Vance nodded for his deputy to lower her weapon. "We've had calls about men posing as HOA security all week," he said. "Looks like we've finally found them." He crouched beside the man I'd shot. The medic shook his head. "Gone," he murmured. The other one groaned weakly from where I'd left him. Vance knelt next to him. "Name?" The man spat blood, eyes glassy. "Brenda Harrison." That was all the confirmation we needed. 2 more patrol cars arrived. They taped off the yard, took photos, bagged evidence. Emily sat on the porch with an ice pack pressed to her cheek, her hands trembling. A paramedic tried to ask questions, but she just kept repeating, "He hit me. He hit me for a fence notice." When the sheriff came back to me, his tone softened. "You're not in trouble, son." From the looks of it, this was self-defense. I nodded once. I didn't feel proud, just tired. "She's pregnant," I said quietly. "They came after her while I was gone." That seemed to hit him. He turned toward his deputies. "Get this one cuffed and ready for transport," he ordered, pointing to the survivor. "We'll question him at the hospital." Hours later, we were at the station giving statements. Everything lined up, the fake badges, the text messages found. On the surviving man's phone, all pointing back to Brenda Harrison. She'd paid them cash from HOA funds to enforce property rules by intimidation. What she didn't expect was that one of her enforcers would die, and the other would start talking the moment the pain meds kicked in. By nightfall, the DA's office had enough to move. Brenda was arrested at her home, still in her silk robe, shouting about community protection. The news called it the Oak Creek scandal. Neighbors called it karma. The charges were brutal: conspiracy to commit assault, impersonation of law enforcement, and misuse of HOA funds. She took a plea deal for 6 years in state prison. The surviving man got 3 years for aggravated assault and trespassing. When it was finally over, Emily and I stood on that same porch under the same sky. Her bruise had turned purple, but her eyes were bright again. "You didn't have to do that," she said softly. "Yes, I did," I replied. "They came here thinking they could scare us. They forgot who they were dealing with." For the first time in days, she smiled. "A Navy SEAL and his roses," she whispered. "Something like that," I said. "And that's how I killed a man on my lawn, and I'd do it again to keep my family safe." HOA Drama Neighbor.